Hey, this is Kurt from Hard Mode Gamers. I'm back again with Nick, and we are going to talk about a scary game.
So scary.
Is it very scary?
It's the kind of game that I don't recommend playing at 3 a.m. in the morning, but I did anyways. So, yeah, that.
That sounds scary. Like on a scale of, let's see, from a scale of paranormal activity to The Exorcist.
We're probably looking at closer to The Exorcist.
Okay, that's pretty scary. All right, so what happens in Outlast 2? What do you do?
So in Outlast 2, the opening scene, you're on this helicopter and you get introduced to the two main characters in the game. So you get introduced to Lynn and Blake. Lynn is the female reporter, Blake is the cameraman and the main character that you play as throughout the whole entire game. And the reason that they are there is that they are investigating the so-called Jane Doe. Jane Doe is a woman that they found in the Arizona desert who was pregnant and is essentially murdered.
Oh boy.
In the opening scene, they say that she is strangled to make it sound more politically correct for the viewers. And during this process, while they're going through and filming the intro, a giant light and almost a siren noise kind of goes off, and the helicopter pilot loses control of the helicopter, it crashes. That's when you really start the actual beginning of the game. So Blake is separated from his wife, he's separated from the helicopter pilot, and he's just trying to make his way back, find her, and leave. And that's kind of your main objective in the actual game. That's what they stick to, is find Lynn, find Lynn, find Lynn. And you even hear that as you go to check your inventory. Physically, you'll be looking down at your vest, and you'll see you have your batteries in one pocket. You can look at footage you've taken from your camera in the center, and then you can see your bandages. But literally, the thing that always pops up is find Lynn, and he always reiterates that. So as you're going through the game, obviously it takes place at night. So night, desert. There's not a lot of light that's going to be out.
God, in the desert.
In the desert, night. Yes. So just kind of think like creepy, like Western town type of deal. You're exploring through the desert and you're trying to find your way. Now the whole thing with this game is that you have a camera, and most of the time you're gonna be looking through your camera, and you have the option for night vision. So it makes it already worse, the fact that you have to engage that night vision to kind of see a whole lot of stuff in this game.
I've seen a lot of green.
Yes.
In this.
There's plenty of green, and most of the time you're not going to want to take it off night vision.
But you had to because of the batteries,
yes,
right?
And that's the problem. And that's the problem that comes along. So you can play this game, without using night vision. Good luck to you if you try to do that, because you're not going to see pretty much anything. Most of the time. But if you end up using the night vision, you use the microphone to kind of pinpoint where like enemies' audio is, and you actually get to physically hear what they're saying if you turn on the microphone. Your battery goes really quick, so you're scavenging for batteries, for bandages, things like that.
Still with the batteries that don't last. How is this real life? You have you ever get a flashlight or these batteries and they drain within 10 minutes? Like, where are we getting these cheap batteries from?
They went to CVS before, they went to go in, start this project, and that's what it is, running on AA's.
It's always with the low that irritates me. Mm-hmm. Can't they find anything else for a reason that, I can actually kind of follow along with a camera losing its battery, because night vision does use a lot of power. Yeah. But not a regular flashlight. Like, you can even get a shake light, just 1, 2 shake and it works again. Yeah. So I guess they do find more of an excuse in that it's night vision that uses up your battery faster.
Here's the best part, though. So I was playing on normal mode. There's 3 other modes. So there's normal, there's hard, there's insane, and then there's nightmare mode. The battery drains fast while I was playing through normal mode. On nightmare mode, you're lucky if you maybe get a minute out of the battery. So essentially, if you're going to play that, you've either done a run or you are crazy as all hell to try to go through that.
Yeah, I will take the second run for that one. You were saying the game is wicked psychologically scary. You're about to tell me something, but what was it?
So the aspect of it being a psychological horror type of game, when you're going through all these different locations, that light and that siren keep coming up. and you're seeing that the townspeople are getting affected by it due to the brainwashing that they have been instilled. So this sound is a response to that itself. They have their body physically alters their thought process, things like that. So not only does it do that, but as you go on through the story, your main character is psychologically also affected by this. So his thought process, the way he does things is completely different. At a certain point in time in the game, and I'm not going to spoil the whole game, but at a certain point in time in the game, he goes and talks about a character named Jess, or Jessica, that was a friend of his and Lynn's in Catholic school. And at a certain point in time, because he's focused so much on this other girl, he kind of almost combines their personalities together for a split minute to say, oh, I gotta find Jess, Lynn, that's who I need to find.
Oh, man.
Type of deal. So not only is it that aspect of messing him up, the other aspect is because it's affecting him in this way, it gets to the point that it touches against all types of fear. So obviously fear of the dark right off the get-go when you start the game. Fear of small spaces. So there are a lot of tight spaces that you are crawling through that you wish you could be running through because you are in a lot of chase scenes. There is, stuff that happens on the lake with water and fog. So, fear of water, fear of heights. They touch on almost every type of fear you could physically have in a game.
So it's like they got a checklist of all the fears and like, all right, we need something for agoraphobes. We need something for people who are scared of water, scared of the dark. Obviously scared of the dark. Everyone's scared of the dark. Don't kid yourself. You are scared of the dark, and if you say you're not, you are a liar.
Nightlights are your best friend.
So this Outlast 2 comes part of a collection on the consoles, Outlast Trinity, and it's $39.99. Is that a good value, would you say?
So I would say that if you have not played the first game, the DLC, to understand a lot of what's going on in the second game, that is a perfect value. For $40, you get essentially 3 games because that Whistleblower DLC is essentially a standalone game by itself, with the content that it physically brings, with what it adds to the original story.
Yeah, because when I saw it, I originally thought it's just DLC, but apparently it was a really big expansion.
So when the first game came out, when that was initially released, and you go through and you're playing through the game, the main character that you play as is Miles Upshur. He's a freelance reporter. He gets brought to Mount Massive Asylum via an email of leaked information to him from the gentleman who's actually in the Whistleblower DLC. His name is Waylon Park. He's actually an employee at a company called Murkoff Corporation. They're responsible for doing a lot of experimentation on people, specifically in asylums. Spoiler, you do get some of that it does tie into the second game. I'm not going to tell you where you find out.
We'll find out.
You'll find out. So essentially, playing through the first game, you get that general backstory. You play through as Miles. You go through that asylum. That's already a horror, a whole separate version of horror on its own itself, and a whole other aspect of fear that it's already bringing. That, and even with Whistleblower itself. That DLC, you play as an employee at that company itself. So while all this stuff is starting to happen, and prior to the stuff Miles is going to experience, which is different, you're trying to escape from these inmates, essentially is what they're labeling them as. These people who have psychological tests done to them and are beyond repair in terms of any sort of psyche being there. And you're trying to escape from that. As your character in Whistleblower, you successfully escape, and that's what leads to these other 2 games.
Wow. I'm not a big fan of horror games, I'll say that. But more often than not, I get irritated by horror games in the amount of stuff you can do.
Yeah.
Like, is it frustrating not being able to really fight, or does it make it work in its favor? Because there are games where that work. The most common one I keep going back to is Soma. Soma was really good at being psychologically scary. It didn't even need the monsters.
Right.
It was just so... for lack of a better word, it was psychological. It was scary by concept, and all these making issues that are hard to face front and center. Does Outlast do this, or is it a mix?
It's definitely a mix. So I mean, you'll get frustrated at first because you're like, all right, like I've played other, kind of scary games. So let's say like the Fear series, for example, where I have a gun, I can shoot,
I
X.
friggin' loved Fear.
That was a good series. Where you can go through and shoot somebody itself if the time comes up. In this, you don't get to do that, but in the aspect of not having those extra tools at your disposal, you think a lot quicker, and you have to be more precise in your decision making, because if you make one wrong move, well, you've got to restart from your checkpoint type of deal. It's a lot of running and hiding, and I think
kind of reminds me of Alien Isolation.
Yes.
Because I kind of liked it. If horror is brought to me in a sci-fi version,
Yes.
I'm usually more all about it,
Yes.
because even though I didn't finish it, I liked Alien Isolation, and I liked Soma. They were a lot of sci-fi. I don't feel like that will be quite the same in Outlast. It's really more of a...
It's a realist. It's psychological horror. So it's definitely not set in the sci-fi realm. For the most part, obviously it's a video game. Certain things happen in video games that can't happen in real life. But you get a realistic feel of, I could be in this scenario. If I was in the scenario, how would I physically deal with that? Well, first I would be looking for something like a board to beat somebody with. I'm not gonna just have a camera and hide type of deal. Unfortunately, you don't get that option. But yeah, it's a realistic feel to the horror genre itself. It's easy to put yourself in the perspective of that person, and it definitely plays on your emotions. There's times where I'm in a chase scene and I'm hiding, and I'm like, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. They're gonna find me in the locker. They're gonna find me in the barrel. Like, they're gonna find me in the cornfields. Like, I can't escape type deal. And then you just want to keep running type deal, and you have to figure out whether or not that is the right option at that point in time. Which most of the time, running is the better option out of anything you have.
All right, like one of the worst horror games I played recently was, we had Layers of Fear, was free on Xbox.
Yeah.
And that game was essentially, there's something behind you, the game.
Yeah.
It got annoying because it was entirely jump scares, and pretty much just you walk down a hallway, you look at something, you turn around, boo.
Yeah.
You walk down another hallway, you turn around, boo. It was like getting predictably bad.
Yeah.
Is it like that? Is it cheap? How is it on the cheap scares?
So on the cheap scares, the areas you think you should be in cheap scares, they do a great job of not putting it there.
All right. I like that.
So what happens is that, you'll be going through an area, you're like, all right, I'm going to turn the corner, here's going to be the cheap scare. No, you're going to go through, and what's going to happen is that the soundtrack is going to change. And this is a fantastic soundtrack. Probably something, if you wanted to, like, really get into fitness, play this while you're on the treadmill. You will be running, you'll be in great shape in a month. That's the type of soundtrack this is. But the soundtrack kind of ties the atmosphere together and kind of almost psychs you out to get those jump scares, and then you go through, you let your guard down, and then that's when the jump scare comes in. It hits you, and you're like, holy crap, I was not expecting that. Where do I go? Type of deal.
So it leads up to a jump scare, calms you down a little bit, and then does it?
Yes.
That's sort of like the Luton bus. Have you ever heard about that?
No, I haven't.
Something scary is about to happen.
Yeah.
But then it's just a bus. Oh.
Yeah.
And then it is the scary thing.
Yeah.
So it's one of those.
Yeah.
I actually might be into that. I may have to borrow it from you when you're done with it.
Yes.
So solid recommend?
Solid recommend. I would say a 10 out of 10, to be quite honest itself. I don't really think there's anything else that they could bring to this. And if you go through and you take the time, you do the exploration, you find out and can tie all the pieces back together to, all the games as a whole, as well as the DLC itself, it's definitely a must pick up, must play.
Sounds like if you're a fan of the horror games, this is absolutely worth picking up. And if you're not a fan of the horror games, prepare to be scared.
Yes.
All right. I'll have to put that to the test. So yes. I think I will definitely borrow that.
I definitely hope you do. And just be prepared.
I will be prepared. Oh yeah, it's, as always, it's great having you here to talk about this. I'm Kurt, you've been Nick from Hard Mode Gamers.
Yes.
For more of these videos, like and subscribe our channel, and check out some of these other videos that are about to come on. See ya!
See you guys.